Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dimes with Dara on the Joy Slot podcast, brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I am Greg Flamong, and that is Dara Mabry. There is a lot to talk about with Notre Dame women's basketball right now, and so we're going to do that. Right, this might be a little bit different show than we've had in the past, but listen, it's tumultuous times for sure. The season ended not in the way that anyone expected, especially a month ago when they were ranked number 1 in the nation. They go out in the Sweet 16 against who did they go out in the Sweet 16 against? I don't even remember. I feel like it was a month ago. It was against TCU. They go out in the Sweet 16 against TCU. Don't look particularly good doing it, especially in that fourth quarter again against TCU. And then the news hits, Olivia Miles is going into the portal. She's not going to the WNBA, and she's not staying at Notre Dame. She's going into the portal. That raises eyebrows. Since then, Kate Koval has gone into the portal. Emma Risch has gone into the portal. Kylie Watson has gone into the portal. And so I think, the roster was going to be decimated anyway, just based on, players losing eligibility and things of that nature. Sony's out. Maddie is out of eligibility. They'll be going on to the WNBA. Leah Tu King will be going on to the WNBA. Liza Carlin is moving on as well. So you had a bunch of seniors going out. I think it's not a surprise. I think people knew or had the expectation that Olivia would not be on Notre Dame's team next year. I think people thought she would be going in the WNBA. The fact that she's going to the portal is the shocking thing. So we're going to talk about all that. But as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. With over a decade of making the best custom clothing available, ESQ will help you look and feel your best in 2025, from a perfect fitting suit or sport coat, shirt or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for wedding season. Check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Dara, how are you doing? Are you hanging in there? I know it's been a rough few days for you, just with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I'm great, to say the least. It's kind of like different. I'm like across the map, off the grid, and just watching everything unfold. With my phone ringing off the hook. But I mean, sometimes I get bored over here. It's entertaining. So
it's definitely something to do.
It really is.
It's definitely something to occupy your mind with. I guess let's start with going out against TCU and just kind of the end of this season. Whatever they had, pre NC State loss, when it went away, it simply never came back. They never looked the same. They were never clicking the same way. Obviously, the first and second round games in South Bend were great, but those weren't really opponents that could do anything against them. And my thing is ever since they lost to NC State, every team that they played that you had seen at one point and thought, oh, that's a good team. That team's good, right? Every time they played a team where you would think that, they lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that just tells me, like, they didn't have the ability to withstand, to play well in a pressure situation, to raise their game to the point where it's like, it's okay, we're playing a good team because we are a great team.
Right.
The number 1 team in the nation. They never got there. Just kind of tell me what that's been like for you to, like, I think we tried to talk ourselves into the tournament, and they're going to find it again. I call them the Ohio State football team. It just wasn't there,
Yeah.
And just kind of talk about what that was like for you, kind of watching that, having the suspicion that this team, they've lost it and it's not coming back.
Yeah, I don't really know. I know we know when they went wrong. When that long stretch of losses began after NC State. I can analyze where they went wrong on the court, but I do think that there's more to it, and obviously I'm not there. People didn't show up for big moments, and there's big games, but there's big moments throughout those games, and it didn't look like there was any leadership in a sense where they could be led to take over those big moments. Defense was awful. One-on-one defense, I think, especially in the last game that we saw against TCU, the one-on-one defense was bad. It was not good. They were just single-handedly picking each player that they wanted to take off the bounce apart, driving and kicking and hitting shots. And sometimes when a team is not playing to their potential, you can still see like the fire that they have underneath them.
Yeah.
And just from over here and watching, I didn't feel that sense of fire. And I think that it was just covered up because Michigan and Stephen F. Austin were not teams that were going to test that. And like you said, every time there was a team in front of them that's like, oh, that's a good team. It was like they didn't rise to that moment and they didn't come together. So maybe that's lack of leadership, lack of selflessness, and lack of maturity.
Mental toughness, I mean, shoot, this is what the tournament is. You got to play big in big moments. And it wasn't just this one, it was the ACC tournament as well. The fourth quarter collapse. And it happened to get, Haley Van Lith is going to come in the fourth quarter. It's just no fight back, and like, look, when I watch that, when I see that, I think this is a team that, I don't want to use the phrase okay to lose, but like it's like, hey, like, you're not fighting for it. You're not fighting for each other. You're not playing for each other. You're just kind of out there playing and hoping something happens, and it just never happened. And you lose to teams that are playing that way, and it was unfortunate. Now, look, I there's, I don't want to say the elephant in the room. There's when Olivia goes to the portal, it's shocking, right? It's a shocking thing. When I saw that, I was like, wow. Like, and the fact that Shams Charania is the one breaking it is like kind of crazy too. But I was like, wow. Like, I did not think that this was going to be the case. Now, factually, like, it does make some sense for a player in college to stay in college for as long as you can, because you can make a lot more money in college than you can in the pros, just from dollars and cents standpoint. Obviously someone like Caitlin Clark, like, she's going to get endorsement deals that are way above and beyond. And so that makes it viable for her to move on. But like Olivia Miles is not going to get the endorsements that Caitlin Clark does. She just isn't. Or Angel Reese or she's not as marketable that way. So it makes sense to me when you heard that. I texted you, and I think we were probably asleep. It was
probably.
It had to have been 2, 3 in the morning for you. But I texted you like Olivia's in the portal, and like when you woke up. I mean, obviously you probably had a ton of messages, a ton of calls, a ton of everything. What did you think? Like, just like, how shocked were you to see that there?
Yeah, shocked. I think I definitely was asleep because I never woke up to so many notifications in my life. And I was like, oh dear, I fear someone just made a very big decision. I mean, yeah, you could say NIL is definitely a factor into why somebody might want to make a change their fifth year. You can consider the part about foregoing the draft. Maybe she feels like she needs a new environment, a different system to feel her best before she enters the draft, because anytime you enter the draft, you want to feel at your best. Or maybe another reason is you feel completely content and satisfied with what you got out of something, and maybe it's time for a change. I'm not really sure why the decision was made, but it is what it is, and they'll have to adjust and find more people in the portal. It was a shocking decision to me, just because the offense fit her so well, and she thrived with Niele as her coach and what she was allowed to do on the court. But if that's what she wants, then that's what she wants.
I think, you know, I'll tell you what's disappointing for me. I'll just, in something that I've noticed is when that happens, there was, the backlash isn't the word. There was a ton of speculation about Niele Ivey. What's going on with Notre Dame? What's going on with her program? You know, Kate Koval gets into the portal as well, right? And I think Kylie and Emma are different. I think Emma, she's had a ton of, hip problems, which have derailed her career at this point. It's super unfortunate for her. And look, in that situation, it makes total sense to me to be like, hey, I need a different scene. I need to go somewhere else, right? Like it just isn't working for me here. I need to go somewhere else. That part of it, I understand. Kylie, again, I understand that as well. She, for lack of a better way to put it, Notre Dame wants to place someone else at the 5 next year, right? And so they are going to look to play somebody. She's not going to. Notre Dame doesn't want her to be the answer at the 5 next year. So that makes sense to me as well. Kate doesn't make.
Kylie has also been at 2 different schools, has probably a bigger sense of awareness of what she wants.
Right.
And I know that she does have aspirations after college that extend further off the basketball court. So to me, Kylie's situation just seems like it's a need for change. And she was extremely satisfied with her experience and what she got out of Notre Dame. Emma, yes, everything you said, I completely agree with. It's like we have 2 question marks, and then we have 2 periods. Okay, understandable.
Yeah.
And then Kate and Olivia leave 2 major question marks.
Yeah. And so to go along with those question marks is, look, there just hasn't been any sort of anything from Olivia when she leaves the program, right? And Kylie leaves, and Kylie, today she released something, and look, maybe Olivia will too, but we'll just put up what Kylie said. She put on her Instagram, "I love Notre Dame, I love Coach Ivey, and I love this entire program. This decision was not about leaving something, but instead embracing something new for my final year of college basketball. I will be graduating with a Notre Dame degree this spring and leave here with relationships that go way deeper than this sport. This program is part of the reason I am who I am today, and I am truly indebted to everyone a part of it and to this school." So we haven't heard anything from Olivia on this. And the thing is there's been a lot said about her former coach and her program, about how, what's going on with Niele Ivey, what's going on with Notre Dame's program, right? And obviously those questions are going to be there when someone of the stature of Olivia Miles leaves. We haven't seen anything like that. And to me, it's a little disappointing for that to just be let linger. She put out a tweet, I think it was, where she put a bunch of emojis where it's like the blowing. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? I'm not that hip. I don't know what she's trying to say with that, but it's like it's not anything that's like, hey, I just wanted a fresh start, or I just feel like, I'm graduating from Notre Dame. Kind of like Kylie said, like, I love Coach Ivey. I love this, that, and the other thing. She hasn't said anything like that. It's all just kind of out there. It's all kind of lingering. And I feel like a lot of people are taking shots at her former coach, and she's just letting that go. To me, it's this disappointing, right? And not just that, perhaps indicative of how she feels. And I have to say, I've interviewed a lot of former Notre Dame players, now former Notre Dame players. It would be stunning to me, you being one of them who was on this show. I've talked to Marina. I have talked to Sonia Citron. I have talked to Maddie Westfeld. I spoke to Olivia. It would be shocking to me that Niele Ivey would be the problem. That her coaching, her personality, the way that she runs her program would be the problem. That doesn't fit with me. There's questions about, why can't they get past the Sweet 16? I get it, right? Those conversations are separate from, like, she doesn't run a very good program, a very good culture. That doesn't fit with what I know of the women's program. And not just players. I've spoken to people close to the program, around the program, who deal with the program, who will all go to bat, for Niele Ivey. It's just telling to me that a player who was getting sat down at the end of games because of defense, and anyone who can watch, this player is not doing the rotations that they should be doing on defense. They are not handling their business on that end, and the season goes the way it goes. It just seems like there's a disconnect there, and I have a hard time believing it is a Niele Ivey problem. That's just my 40,000-foot view of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a question. Just like what I'll tell you. I'll say this. I'll ask you this: do you see Niele Ivey and the way that she runs the program and that program, the culture of that program, as a problem, as the problem?
No. And this is just my 40,000-foot view. But Niele Ivey is not the problem. The coaching staff and the support staff is not the problem. Notre Dame women's basketball is professional. They treat you like a professional. You are expected to show up every day and do what you are asked, do what you are told. If you do what the coaches ask and you produce, you will be on the court and it will pay off. They trust in you. They have your best interest at heart. The culture of that program lives up to the 6 principles that we have. Niele Ivey is not the issue. Her staff and how she runs the program is not the issue. I can promise you that. And there is a reason why there's so many players that you've talked to, why you have never even spent one day around the team or around the program, around any of the coaches, not even me in person. And you have that speculation, and it's for a reason. Because everybody on the outside with this 40,000-foot view, the same view that I have, what you see from them in the media, the interviews, how they interact with people in the community, how they are with their players, everything that you see of them is who they are from top to bottom. And I promise you that the issue is not with the coaching staff and how they run a program. And what's not fair to me is that players can leave and they can add to this speculation and this narrative that the media and outsiders create, while coaches can't go in public like the players can and defend themselves. And God forbid, tell the story of what really happened behind closed doors with certain transfers. And it's been going on since 2021, since we had our first set of transfers after our COVID year, my first year at Notre Dame playing for Coach Ivey. And I've seen ridiculous things posted on social media by players that have left regarding not being believed in enough, lack of care for mental health, and plenty other things that I could go on and on about, but I just don't feel like it. And it's not the case. And that doesn't disregard or discredit any subjective personal experience, because everybody has their own wants and needs for a change or to leave one university for another. I personally did the same thing myself. I was a transfer portal student athlete. I left one university, attended another. But I just don't think it's fair that people can create this narrative and all of this can occur in speculation. So whatever reason it is that people may leave, I don't know. I can't answer that. But I can tell you what it isn't, and that is Niele Ivey, the whole coaching staff, the teammate that Hannah Hidalgo is, because there's also speculation around that. Everyone's saying, oh, they saw her take too many shots. That's not the case. Okay, yeah, she takes a lot of shots sometimes. Look how much that girl produces on the court. And the transfer portal is also so common, and it happens so much that I don't understand why it has to be this big thing. Like, you don't even have to explain yourself. Okay, you want to change, you want to leave. Okay, do it with grace. Don't make up false accusations about our staff and what goes on, the culture of a program, and how things are done, because it's not true.
Right. So I think the second part there, I don't know that you're specifically speaking about Olivia there, because I don't know that she's said anything. I just want to be clear. I don't want your words to be.
I was not speaking about one specific individual. Okay. I was speaking of it as a whole.
Right.
Addressing what things are and what things aren't.
Yeah. So I think a good way to put it, because if Niele Ivey wanted to, she could air out whoever. She could. She's choosing not to, because that's not what she wants to be. She doesn't want to be in the situation where it's like, I have to set the record straight, like, because that doesn't help her. It's not good for her. And not just that, she's an adult, right? That's not how a professional adult leading a program like Notre Dame goes about their business, right?
It's also just not what happens. Like, you never see, like, unless a coach is asked about it in the media, then okay, they'll answer it. They'll answer it most likely politically correct. But it's just like not what happens. Like, I know I'm saying the coaches can't come on here and defend themselves. They're just not going to.
I think the fact of the matter is that we both know that programs go out of their way to protect players and keep things out of the media and keep things in-house. And then if a player moves on, those things it's not reciprocated. You know what I mean? Like, they don't go and say, hey, actually, they've been protecting me this whole time. Actually, like, I might want to go to another place, but like, they've kept things out of the public sphere on my behalf. And like, you should know that kind of thing, right? Like, that never gets told about how much they are kind of keeping things together. And not just that, but like the players too, like Sonia, like Maddie, Kylie, for instance. Like, it never gets told that way. And so then when a player leaves, there's a ton of speculation there, right? Like, look, we don't, again, if it was just Kate, and even if it was just Kate, Emma, and Kylie, wouldn't really be that big. I mean, Kate's a big deal just because she was a freshman, and it's like, what's going on here, right? Like, you have a ton. You're going to have a ton of playing time coming up, right? And look, I understand there's speculation. People say, oh, it must be playing time. I'm sorry, like, that doesn't really fly with me. they're going to play Leah Tu King. They're going to play Maddie Westbeld. Like, Maddie Westbeld has been a huge player in huge games. Like, that's, and it's not like she didn't play at all, right? Like, to me, that stuff is, I don't understand what's going on there, right? And it is what it is. But I just think, like, from the leadership standpoint, like, I just think it's not cool that it's been let to linger, you know? And I don't think that part is being handled very well. I mean, it's just, it's too long of a thing, you know?
Yeah. Agreed.
And you just hear things. You hear things.
You hear things.
You hear things, and it's like, it's not really reportable, but you hear things, and you don't like that. You don't want to just go around hearing things. Now,
no, I don't like that. And I also don't like people texting me and asking me what's going on, what's happening. Like, first of all, again, with the narrative. Second of all, why would you think that I would give you an explanation or answer? Like, come on.
Yeah.
I needed to get that off my chest.
Okay. All right. So, the question of where it goes from here is kind of, I don't really know how to answer that. Like, they need to do really well in the portal, right? At this point.
Right.
They have Hannah, they have Cass, and they have KK Bransford. Yes. Those are only 3 scholarship players, correct?
Yes, and then they have incoming freshman Leah Macy.
But she's hurt.
Yes, she is, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's unfortunately injured. They need to hit the portal real hard. I think for me, it's like the big picture aspect of, like, how are they going to be? Are they going to be okay? I think that needs to just wait until we see who they end up with in the portal and what that team looks like. I do think there's kind of a conversation that needs to be had, and maybe we could have it another time, about, does Niele need to change her strategy into how she's building the roster, right? This is a pretty extreme situation, but, like, she doesn't bring in that many players, you know, in terms of freshman classes.
And I hate, like, talking about this, but it just is the reality. Like, the injury bug was a real thing with our team. And I think, I don't know, maybe she takes a couple more. Maybe she takes 15. Maybe she takes a whole 15 instead of 12. But I think that Notre Dame is still Notre Dame. And they'll do fine. I've seen my sister work like a dog in that portal. So I'm more than confident that they'll bring in some really good players for sure.
Yeah. So we'll have to look at that. And then there's, like, a conversation to be had, like, you know, will it matter? You just had a really good team. It didn't work out. Personally, you know, speaking of, like, the 12 and the 15, like, people talked about depth. I didn't think the depth was an issue. They had 8. They had 8 who you could put on the floor confidently, right?
Right.
I think that's fine, especially in the women's game. There are so many teams that just, like, aren't subbing, right? They're just not. No one is, like, 9 or 10 deep, save for
we also don't have a history of that. Like, Coach McGraw used to go sometimes at most 7 deep. Yeah.
So I think it's fine. It's just that, like, you can't have an implosion like you did, right? And look, it is what it is. It happened the way it happened. It's unfortunate. She does need to rebound. The program needs to rebound. And then, you know, go from there, right? And I think right now there's a ton of uncertainty. The sky is falling, things of that nature. Trust me, I've been here with the Notre Dame football team before. These things tend to get worked out. And so hopefully it kind of does get worked out. Any kind of final thought from you on just kind of everything, whatever you want to end it with, let people know, like, what you think is ahead for Notre Dame.
I fear I've said everything that was on my chest today.
All right, then. Okay.
In the meantime, we're gonna get buckets in the portal. That's what
That's
we're
right.
gonna do.
Get buckets in the portal. All right, we're gonna do that. So, as the team gets put together, and look, there might be more news coming out as well. We can talk about that when that comes up. So we're gonna have some more shows coming to you. So if you like what you heard today, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. We'll be back soon to talk to you about Notre Dame women's basketball. But in the meantime, Dara, what are we gonna do?
Get buckets.
Get buckets.